Hey, I'm Danny the plumber, and today I'm going to show you step by step how to put a water heater in. If you look over here, we have our water supply, our gas supply, and our vent. Okay, so the tools you're going to need for this water heater installation is 3/8 nut driver, or if you've got a drill with a 3/8 bit, even better. You're going to need pipe joint compound, a pencil, a tape measure, self-tapping sheet metal screws, and a drill for the sheet metal screws. A small bucket, maybe even a big bucket, utility knife, a wire brush, a rag, soap, and water. And you don't need a spray bottle, but I use one. You can use a cup of water and some kind of paintbrush. So as you can see, not a lot of tools are needed for this installation. You don't need a professional plumber. You guys can do it yourself. And I'm going to show you now the proper way to take your water heater out of the water heater box. There's some lines here, and you take your utility knife and you just cut along the line. This is important because there are things you can ruin on the water heater, like the control here, and if you cut into it you can cut the wires and the water heater will not work. Now the reason I take it out outside is because the ceiling inside would hit the box and it would be pretty hard to take this out inside. There's our brand new 40-gallon water heater made by Rheem, an excellent company, one of my favorites. And it's important when you put your water heater on your dolly not to ruin the control or put the dolly facing this way, because it'll definitely ruin your control. So this is how it's done. Okay, now that we have our water heater inside, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick measurement for the earthquake straps. And where the earthquake strap should go is there's two of them. There's one on the top and one on the bottom. Now the set on the top should go just under the temperature and pressure relief valve. So we'll go at about 4 feet off the ground here, and we'll put a mark on the wall, just 4 feet off the ground. You can see where the old ones were is just a little high for me, so I'll put a little mark at 4 feet, and we'll go back and we'll check for the second one. Should be just above the control. So I want to make sure I pass the pilot and the wires and everything. So I'll go about 25 inches off the ground, and that is going to be about right here. Now, luckily, the old water heater, they showed me where the studs in the wall are by the two holes. So I'll drill 25 inches, but the same place on the wall as the last water heater was, to make sure we catch the studs with our bolt. Okay, today I'm going to be putting in a cloth style strap. Usually the older style ones are the metal straps, but more and more people are going to this style, which is a cloth, or some people call it a seat belt style strap. I'll show you how to put it in, and it's basically the same way as the metal ones. It's just made out of cloth material. Today we're going to be putting in by a company named Firefighter. I've used this one before. It's great, easy to install, and I'll show you just how to do it right now. Okay, so we're going to put the strap in by taking the strap, taking the included 3/8 lag bolt, putting it in with my trusty Makita drill, remembering the stud is lined up with the old stud. And stud. Okay, so I didn't find a stud there, and it's sometimes challenging to find these studs. Try it again and go for the corner. Now it definitely feels like it grabbed. So it's real important to grab the stud, find the stud with the lag bolt, because if you don't and there's an earthquake, that'll come right out of the drywall. But you can see it's in there. Okay, here we go again. Trying to locate the stud. Now you can hear that. I definitely have the stud that time. And before I tighten it all the way down, I want to make sure that the flat part is facing outward, just like the first one here. And now we can go ahead, tighten it down. And sometimes you have trouble finding a stud, so what I did here is I just did a 2-in-1. I found a stud and I just put both of the straps on one stud. So now here's the fun part. Let's get the water heater in. This is a light 40-gallon water heater, so you can do this one by yourself, most people. Okay, now so we're going to get the water supply in there, and I grabbed myself a bucket. You can get a step ladder or any kind of ladder, and we're going to put, today we've got Brasscraft 3/4 inch by 24 is the length, flexible copper supplies. These are easy to put in because they bend, they flex to wherever you need them to go. As long as you don't kink them, you'll be alright. A lot easier than soldering the connection from here to here, especially if you're a homeowner and you don't want to even mess with the soldering stuff. So here we go. Make sure this is off. This is our ball valve that is in the off position right now. You know it's in the off position because it's this way, up and down, and not horizontal. When it's horizontal, that means the water's flowing through it when the pipe is that way. So up and down, stopping the water. Okay, so I grabbed myself a bucket because there's always a little water in these things, and sometimes your valve will even leak. But let's take this guy off here. Normally I would open up another hot water faucet or something in the house, but this house is actually doing a remodel and they do not have any of that yet. And if you take a look up here, you can see the last plumber put Teflon tape on these threads. This is not necessary. In fact, you should not do this. And the reason for that is our flex connectors have a rubber inside there. That gasket is the seal. The Teflon tape does nothing for you except get in the way and you may have a leak because of it. So a lot of people put this on, but it is actually wrong to do. So we're going to clean up the threads here. Okay, so I bought this heater in a package that came with these flex connectors. These flex connectors are a little longer, so I'm going to show you what to do when you have a little longer flex connector than needed. This actually works real well, even if you've got the right length. This is a loop trick. We're just going to kind of loop this thing around so it doesn't kink on us. Making sure we're staying clear of the vent also. Let's keep that in mind. The vent will go up here to here. And you don't have to go too tight on these things, but tight enough so it doesn't leak. Okay, so now I've installed the inlet cold water flex connector and the outlet, which will be hot water flex connector. So for you homeowners that don't know, the way it works is you get your cold water coming in from the city here, it goes into the unit, heats it up, and delivers you hot water this way for all your fixtures in your house. Okay, now I'm getting some self-tapping sheet metal screws. It's got a different head, if you can zoom up on that head. And what that does is it drills real nicely into the sheet metal, which I'll show you how. This doesn't come with the water heater, so you're going to have to buy that on your own. So to install the vent hood, which comes with your new water heater, it's real simple. There's 4 holes on the top here, right where it goes, and you line them up just like this. And then you actually push down and you can hear it click in, like that. Now there's 2 more holes that need our self-tapping sheet metal screws. And we'll line it up and put it in. Now that's done. Okay, so now we're going to put our vent in, and the way that's done is you take this part, and you can probably reuse your existing vents most of the time. Make sure that they don't have any holes or it's not rotted away, and you should be fine. So this in here goes up. I like to put it up a little further than it has to go, and you can always move it up and down. And I'll show you why in a second. Okay, so I'm going to put in some new AmeriVent 3-inch 90-degree adjustable elbows. And the way these things work is like this. You put these things on and you can spin it to different degrees and line it up. Because this is not perfectly in line here, so we have to kind of try and catch it, you know, without making it real ugly and swinging your vent like that, which I see a lot of plumbers do just because it's easy. So let's try to figure out this one. Okay, now I'm going to push all the vents tightly together here and in here, and then we're going to screw them down with some more sheet metal screws. Now these sheet metal screws are good because you don't have to have a hole. They make their own hole. Okay, so I put 2 sheet metal screws on each connection because that's what code requires, and it's also a good thing, so in case it's ever hit or something, it's not going anywhere. You guys don't want carbon monoxide in your home or garage. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys how to install the gas connections for your water heater. Making sure the valve is off again, of course, it should have been off this entire time. I'm going to clean it real quick, making sure there's nothing in there. You guys can even flush it. Okay, now take a look at the control here. On the control, there's a little sticker they always put on these things right here. It says for natural gas only, and a secondary little plug they put in here, just a plastic plug. Pull that out. Here's a regular flex connector for gas, 1/2 by 24 inch. We're going to take this that comes with it off. Okay, so we're going to take our pipe joint compound and we're going to put some on this guy right here, making sure that we don't get the first few threads of it, because we don't want some of this to go inside our control, and that may not let the gas get through. And we'll just thread it in here. Okay, now you don't want to put too much pressure on this control either, so sometimes I'll just grab it with my hand and just kind of back it up, because we do need this thing pretty tight inside here. Okay, let's get the flex connector on here. As you can see, this one's a little longer, so we'll use our loop trick again, making sure we don't kink anything, keeping it out of the way of people that are walking by. When you tighten this, you can tighten it hand tight and just a little more, maybe a quarter turn more with your wrench, and you can feel it get nice and tight on you pretty quickly. Okay, now that that's in, what we're going to do is turn the water on and start filling it. The reason I like to do this before I put the earthquake straps in is because sometimes you're yanking on this, and these water heaters are actually pretty light when there's no water in them. So we're going to fill it up, test our connections. Then we'll put the earthquake straps on. Okay, now the water heater is filled. I'm checking for leaks here, 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 and I'll continue to check until I'm done with the installation. But now let's put our earthquake straps on. And to do that, with this style here, you take your 2 straps, you put this one under, pull it tight, and you take the front of it, there's a little clip here, you go the other way again. Now, a lot of people pull these real snug. You're not really supposed to. Just tight enough so it holds it in there. We don't want this thing leaning back against the wall because we pulled it so tightly. They also come with these little clips to make it look nice and pretty. And those clips just slide right on it. And we'll do the same for the lower one. Okay, so we're going to put the bottom clip on, and one more time, let's look at it. It comes like this. Slide this side through. and this side through. Okay, now so we're going to put our temperature and safety valve in, and the valve actually itself is already in. We're just going to add a piece of copper with a male adapter in it and go to the ground. Technically up to code, you are supposed to make this thing drain to the outside, but the homeowner didn't want that in this case, so we're going to do as they wish and just attach it here. You are also supposed to have a pan, because it's an indoor installation that also drains to the outside of the house with 2 separate pipes. But we're not doing that today, and we're going to show you how to attach the T&P right now. I've already measured it. It can be between 6 inches and 2 feet off the ground. Okay, I'm going to show you how to solder the male adapter onto a piece of copper tubing. Most of you, the homeowners out there, you don't have to do this because you most likely have one that's already connected to your temperature and pressure relief valve that you can just unscrew and use again. Okay, so we're going to put our 3/4 male adapter on the pipe. Make a little mark. This is just to show how far it's in, because sometimes when you solder, it can be way out there. A lot of plumbers don't use that technique. I like to. Put a little flux on our 3/4 male adapter, a little on the tubing. Okay, now once your pipe cools, I'm going to put a little more pipe joint compound on it and thread it in to the T&P. Okay, so now we're up to turning the gas on and lighting the pilot for the water heater. And this is done this way. We're going to first turn our gas shutoff valve to the on position. Then we'll take the front cover in the bottom here off by lifting up and out. Making sure that this dial here is on pilot lighting. We'll turn to pilot mode. There's a little white arrow on the top. There's 3 modes. There's off, pilot, and on. Turn it to pilot. Press down on it. Let the gas flow into the orifices for a few seconds. And these are newer, nice electronic ignition pilots, control valves. So all we have to do is press the green button 1 or 2 times, continuing to hold the pilot down, and you can see inside the looking glass here if the flame is caught, and there's a tiny blue flame I can see right there that is in fact on. I'll show you. It is on. So we continue to hold this down for about 45 seconds or so. Okay, so I've held the pilot down for about 45 seconds. I can now let it go and check to see that in fact the pilot is still lit inside the looking glass there. And what you want to do is just simply turn it to the on position and then turn this dial here to your desired heat level. This button here is what factory kind of recommends. I think it's a little cold. A is warmer, B is getting hot, C and very hot are obviously the hottest. I like to keep it at about B, personally. Okay, so the water heater is now lit. We've got everything together, and in probably half an hour or so, we'll have hot water. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to test your gas lines for any gas leaks. What I have here is just regular dish soap and a water bottle full of water, maybe only up to here. So you mix the soap with the water. Some people say 1 part soap, 15 parts water. Don't really know the actual measurements. I'll cut that out. Okay, shake it up and let's spray everywhere that you can, every connection. Just like this. Everywhere we worked, on every connection you can see is a good thing, because sometimes even if you didn't work on these pipes back here, sometimes you hit them during the install and you want to check it. And what you're looking for is bubbles. So if you have a leak, let me show you what it'll look like. We sprayed this down with the soap water solution. If you had a leak, it would bubble like that. So you want to make sure you have no joints that are bubbling like that anywhere. I can actually smell the gas too, so we'll tighten that back down and retest it. And I can see nowhere else. I can see everywhere else I don't have a leak. Okay, thank you guys very much for watching. Please subscribe. If you have any questions, comment below.